For centuries, humans have been captivated by the idea of detecting lies. The quest to uncover deception has been a constant through the ages, driven by the need for justice and truth in societies. From the earliest days of human civilization, the desire to distinguish truth from falsehood has shaped legal systems, cultural practices, and even religious rituals. Ancient civilizations relied on rituals and trials by ordeal, believing the guilty would be exposed by divine intervention. These methods were often brutal and based on the belief that supernatural forces would reveal the truth. For instance, in medieval Europe, trial by water was common. Suspects were thrown into a body of water, and their fate was believed to be determined by divine will. If they floated, they were deemed guilty. If they sank, they were considered innocent, albeit often at the cost of their lives. In ancient China, suspects chewed rice flour during questioning. A dry mouth was seen as a sign of guilt. This method was based on the idea that stress and anxiety, which accompany lying, would inhibit saliva production. The practice was a rudimentary attempt to link physiological responses to deception, a concept that would evolve significantly over the centuries. These methods, often cruel and unreliable, reflected a deep desire for a tool that could separate truth from deception. The harshness of these techniques underscored the desperation to find a reliable means of discerning honesty. Despite their brutality, they laid the groundwork for the understanding that physical responses could be indicators of psychological states. The pursuit of a more scientific approach led to the development of the modern polygraph in the early 20th century. This era marked a significant shift from mystical and superstitious methods to those grounded in scientific inquiry. Researchers began to explore the relationship between physiological responses and psychological states, seeking to create a device that could objectively measure truthfulness. The underlying principle was simple. Lying induces physiological changes that can be measured. These changes include variations in heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, and skin conductivity. The idea was that these involuntary responses could be recorded and analyzed to determine whether a person was being truthful or deceptive. Early pioneers like William Marston, a psychologist involved in the creation of Wonder Woman, believed these changes could be objectively recorded and interpreted. Marston's work in the early 20th century was instrumental in developing the first lie detection devices, and he theorized that systolic blood pressure was a key indicator of deception, a concept that would influence future developments in the field. One of the first polygraph machines, invented by John Larson in 1921, measured changes in blood pressure. Larson, a police officer and physiologist, sought to create a more reliable method of detecting lies than the existing techniques. His invention marked a significant milestone in the history of lie detection, combining scientific principles with practical application. Further refinements by Leonard Keeler in the 1930s added respiration and skin conductivity sensors, laying the foundation for the modern polygraph we know today. Keeler's enhancements improved the accuracy and reliability of the polygraph, making it a more sophisticated tool for lie detection. His contributions were crucial in establishing the polygraph as a standard instrument in criminal investigations and other fields. The polygraph, often called a lie detector, promised a technological solution to an age-old problem. It offered the hope of a scientific method to uncover deception, providing a seemingly objective way to determine truthfulness. Over the years, the polygraph has been used in various contexts, from criminal investigations to employment screenings, reflecting its perceived value in different areas of society. However, its journey from a promising invention to a subject of intense debate highlights the complexities of human deception and the limitations of seeking truth through physiological measurements alone. The polygraph's accuracy and reliability have been questioned, leading to ongoing discussions about its validity and ethical implications. Despite its limitations, the polygraph remains a symbol of the enduring quest to understand and detect human deception. Imagine a darkened room, an individual strapped to a machine with wires and sensors. The atmosphere is tense, the air thick with anticipation. This is the setting where the polygraph, often referred to as a lie detector, comes into play. This is the iconic image of a polygraph test, often portrayed in films and television shows. The machine beeps and scribbles lines on a paper, creating an aura of mystery and intrigue. But how does this seemingly simple setup claim to differentiate truth from lies? The polygraph doesn't actually detect lies. Instead, it measures physiological responses associated with anxiety, fear, or stress, which are often heightened when someone is being deceptive. The polygraph doesn't actually detect lies. It doesn't have a magical ability to peer into the human soul and discern truth from falsehood. Instead, it measures physiological responses associated with anxiety, fear, or stress, which are often heightened when someone is being deceptive. These responses are subtle, often imperceptible to the naked eye, but the polygraph is designed to pick them up. The machine typically records changes in blood pressure, heart rate, respiration, and skin conductivity. These are the key indicators that polygraph examiners rely on to make their assessments. Small sensors attached to the individual's fingers detect changes in sweat gland activity, measured as skin conductivity. This is because when a person is nervous or stressed, their sweat glands become more active, leading to increased skin conductivity. Chest straps or bands monitor breathing patterns, capturing even the slightest changes in respiration. These changes can indicate a person's level of stress or anxiety, while a blood pressure cuff, similar to the one used in medical checkups, tracks blood pressure fluctuations. An increase in blood pressure can be a sign of stress or nervousness. These physiological responses are believed to be controlled by the autonomic nervous system, the part of our nervous system that operates largely outside of conscious control. This system regulates many of our involuntary functions, such as heart rate and digestion. The theory is that when a person lies, the fear of being caught triggers involuntary physiological changes that the polygraph can detect. These changes are not foolproof indicators of deception, but they provide valuable clues that can be used in conjunction with other evidence. The fundamental premise of polygraphy hinges on the connection between deception and the autonomic nervous system. This intricate network of nerves governs essential bodily functions like breathing, heart rate, and digestion, often without our conscious awareness. When faced with a threatening situation, our bodies activate the fight or flight response. This primal survival mechanism floods the body with adrenaline, increasing heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration, preparing us to confront the threat or flee to safety. Proponents of polygraphy argue that the act of lying triggers a similar stress response. The fear of being caught in a lie, they believe, activates the autonomic nervous system, leading to detectable physiological changes. These changes, they argue, are distinct from the physiological responses associated with truth-telling. However, critics point out that stress, fear, and anxiety can arise from a multitude of factors, not just deception. An innocent person falsely accused or apprehensive about the test itself may exhibit similar physiological responses, leading to inaccurate results. This fundamental flaw, they argue, undermines the reliability of polygraph testing. While the polygraph has been used for decades, its accuracy and reliability have been fiercely debated within the scientific community. Despite its long history, the polygraph remains a contentious tool, with many experts questioning its scientific validity and ethical implications. The debate is not just academic. It has real-world consequences for law enforcement, legal proceedings, and even employment screenings. Critics argue that the polygraph is fundamentally flawed. pointing to numerous limitations and potential sources of error. They highlight that the machine measures physiological responses that can be influenced by a variety of factors unrelated to deception. These factors include stress, anxiety, and even medical conditions, which can all produce readings that might be misinterpreted as signs of lying. One major criticism is the subjective interpretation of polygraph results. The charts produced by the polygraph are not straightforward and require a trained examiner to interpret them. This interpretation is not always consistent, as different examiners may have varying levels of experience and expertise, leading to different conclusions from the same data. Examining the physiological charts requires significant training and experience, and different examiners may interpret the same data differently. This variability introduces a level of subjectivity that is problematic for a tool that is often presented as scientifically objective. The potential for human error and bias cannot be overlooked. This subjectivity introduces the risk of bias and inconsistency, undermining the objectivity that scientific evidence demands. In legal settings, this can lead to wrongful convictions or the dismissal of valid evidence, raising serious ethical concerns about the use of polygraph tests in courtrooms. Another concern is the susceptibility of polygraph tests to countermeasures. Individuals who are trained in specific techniques can manipulate their physiological responses to deceive the machine. These countermeasures can include controlled breathing, inducing pain, or even using mental techniques to stay calm. Individuals trained in specific techniques, such as controlling their breathing or inducing pain, may be able to manipulate their physiological responses and deceive the machine. This makes it difficult to rely on polygraph results as definitive proof of truthfulness or deception. This vulnerability to manipulation further erodes confidence in the accuracy of polygraph results. If individuals can learn to beat the test, the reliability of the polygraph as a tool for detecting deception is significantly compromised. Furthermore, the polygraph cannot distinguish between different emotional states that may elicit similar physiological responses. Emotions such as fear, anxiety, anger, and excitement can all produce changes in heart rate, breathing, and sweat gland activity, which the polygraph measures. Fear, anxiety, anger, and excitement can all trigger changes in heart rate, breathing, and sweat gland activity. This overlap in physiological responses makes it challenging to determine whether a person is lying or simply experiencing a strong emotion. This lack of specificity makes it difficult to definitively attribute physiological changes to deception alone. As a result, the polygraph's ability to serve as a reliable lie detection tool is highly questionable, leading many to call for alternative methods that can provide more accurate and unbiased results.